Okay, first I need your consent, so can you repeat after me?
Sure.
I agree to allow my video interview
I allow my phone video
to be used for research
to be used for research
in the KHS Sociology class.
in the KHS Sociology class.
Perfect, thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Ethnocentrism, or culture shock, is the tendency to view one's own culture and group as superior to all other cultures and groups. Where have you traveled to that triggered a feeling of ethnocentrism or culture shock?
Well, for us, it was moving moving from Grand Rapids to New Orleans, Louisiana, was a giant culture shock. Let me give you one simple example that I really think typifies what we're talking about. When we moved to New Orleans, we lived north of Lake Pontchartrain, which is a big divide in New Orleans. There wasn't even a McDonald's in that community, where up here you see one on about every other block. I mean, that was such a shock to Cheryl that there wasn't even, the only thing that was there was one Walmart store. None of the other grocery stores, none of the other fast food places were even there. I mean, it was totally different. I mean, it was a real shock, and we were amazed how different it was.
Specifically, what did the people do or how did they behave differently than you are used to?
Well, I would base it on work ethic. Up in Grand Rapids, work ethic is really, really important. And typically people would start thinking about the week on Sunday, where in New Orleans, people the entire Monday through Friday would be thinking about what are they going to do on the weekend. So it's a whole different mindset about work ethics. It just was totally different. I was amazed at it.
So your initial response was just shock, amazement?
Yeah, it really was. And because I had the hiring authority down there, and it was very difficult interviewing people that I could tell didn't have the same work ethic that I was used to in the northern states.
And what about religion?
Well, up north in Grand Rapids, it was very conservative. I would say religion in New Orleans was just different. There didn't seem to be a priority to have families go to church. It wasn't a priority. Where it was a bigger priority in Grand Rapids and other cities that we live, but it was not a priority in New Orleans.
Did you verbalize these thoughts or did you keep them to yourself?
Well, I verbalized it to Cheryl and I because we were moving in, and we were absolutely shocked. Even the language was different. They speak with a Cajun accent, and sometimes it was really hard to even understand. And we're thinking, holy cow, this is still the United States. But it was a big adjustment. We had no idea.
So besides your wife, you didn't talk about it to others, just kept it in the family?
No, because everybody that I worked with was all either from New Orleans or from Louisiana.
Gotcha.
So to them, they were used to it. For
Yes.
us, it was a culture shock. It really was.
So then towards the end of your trip or of you living there, how did your feelings about their culture change?
Well, it really didn't change. I really felt, just personally, that from a work ethic, I thought they were very inferior to other places around the country. We lived there 5 years, Abs.
Wow.
Now, to give you an example of how poor education was, we had our 3 kids in public, private, and parochial schools, and none of them were any good. So when we moved from New Orleans to Atlanta, we had to have tutors. We held one of our kids back. We had to have tutors for the other 2 kids because they were that far behind.
Oh my gosh.
Only 63% of high school kids in Louisiana graduate.
No way.
Yeah. So it's not, and it ties in with There wasn't a priority for education. A poor work ethic. I think those things go hand in hand. It was so totally different from any other place we've lived.
So even after 5 years, you were still just thought it was crazy.
Yeah, and we wanted to get out of there in the worst way. Unfortunately, I had a big promotion. They moved us to Atlanta. But New Orleans was just really, really different. It was literally, I say this over and over again, it was like moving to another country.
That
And
is
primarily
crazy.
a third world country. For example, if you have a derelict car up in Grand Rapids, or St. Louis for that matter, and a derelict car, usually it's removed within 24 or 48 hours. In New Orleans, it would stay there for 30 to 60 days.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was totally different. It really was. Every aspect of culture was different, dramatically different than any other place in the United States.
Wow. That's very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah, different, really different.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Any other questions, babe?
Nope, that'll do it.
All righty. Well, if you have any questions, Cheryl just walked